Welcome to Greenland, everyone. Fall is in the air, leaves are in the pond. That means winter is coming. Join us on this video. We're going to go through the 7 easy steps to prepare your pond for winter. My name's Aaron. This is Colette. Say hi, Colette.
Hi, Colette.
We're the AC team. We're going to go through cleaning. We're going to go through equipment, what you need to do to prepare equipment. We're going to go through if you're going to take your fish out of the pond. We're going to go through keeping your fish in the pond. We're going to go through what treatments you need over winter. We're going to show you how to cover and net the pond. And lastly, talk about some plant care.
We're going to talk a little bit about cleaning your pond, getting it ready for winter. So the first thing you want to do is start skimming the leaves off the top of your pond. And let's watch Aaron do that.
So we put cleaning first because we want to get the tedious, boring stuff out of the way. I mean, this is the worst job that you have to do. We don't have a lot of leaves on this pond, but in some of those ponds that are just surrounded by big, huge elm trees or ash trees, you're going to have so many leaves to skim. So that's why we're talking about this first. Get the bad stuff out of the way. In the video and in life, just get it out of the way. So you not only want to get the surface leaves like I'm doing here, but ideally you're trying to go down to the bottom of the pond too and kind of see what you can scoop up out of there. Any debris, any sludge like you see here that you can get out is great to get out now. Why you want to get it out? Over winter, all this stuff is going to be breaking down, creating waste in the pond. That waste in the pond is then going to translate into dirty water. It's going to translate into algae. It's going to translate into a lot of ammonia and nitrates in your water, which you definitely don't want if you're going to be keeping fish in there.
The other thing you're going to want to make sure you have is a really good pair of pond gloves. They're very long. They come in different sizes. And they go so you can get very deep into the water, and like it or not, you are going in that water. It's just a matter of course. And just a secondary tip, they're really good if you have a broken arm and you want to cover your cast in the shower. They work amazingly for that. Ask me how I know. So just get as much gunk out of there as you can. See all that algae? That's got to come out.
So we talked about cleaning the pond, getting the leaves out, getting the gunk out. That's the important first step. The next step you want to do is get your equipment ready for winter. You may have a skimmer in your pond. You may have a biofalls in your pond. You may have an external filter. You probably have a pump in there. All of these things do need some maintenance going into winter. So if you have an external canister filter like you see here, that's a great thing to bring indoors. You can use it on your aquarium that you use to overwinter the fish in. You can use it on a stock tank to overwinter the fish. Let's say you don't need it. You definitely do want to bring it indoors. You cannot let that freeze. Drain it out, store it somewhere indoors, and you're good to go.
An easy way to clean it out too is set it. All these filters will have a cleaning setting. So if you set it to clean, it's going to compress the sponges inside, and all that dirty water is going to come out. Then you just have to open it up, take the sponges out, let them air dry. You can rinse them out, put it back together, and it's good to go in the spring.
Ideally, though, if you can keep it running on a stock tank, on an aquarium, you're going to let that bacteria that you built up survive.
You still want to clean it before you bring it indoors to use on your aquarium, though.
Absolutely. So that takes care of the canister filter. Let's say you have a skimmer in the pond. Ideally, what you're going to do is take out the net, take out the little filter sock, whatever's in there, and drain the pond below that level of the skimmer. You don't want that skimmer to be full of water when you're going into winter, or it potentially could crack.
Don't drain the water any more than you have to because you want to save that water for next spring, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Right, and next we'll talk about the biofalls. If you have a plastic biofalls, any kind of plastic filter unit at the top, you want to drain that completely as well. Minus 30 plus that plastic full of water is not going to survive. So drain that down fully. And the last piece of equipment you want to look at is your pump. Take your pump, take it indoors, store it in a bucket of water, either in the garage, the basement, somewhere it doesn't freeze. If you're stored in a bucket of water, it keeps those seals intact, keeps it moist, and just allows it to survive the winter.
Just one more thing about when you're draining your biofalls. Throw a towel or something in there after it's been drained, just to soak up any condensation that may happen. And don't forget to drain your lines. You have to make sure that they're completely drained. Get all that water out of there. Last thing you want is to find out in the spring you've got cracked lines in your pond.
Yes, ask us how we know about that. We've definitely not replaced the line in this pond 2 or 3 times already because of cracking. So yeah, that's a big tip. Shop vac, blower, whatever you can do, get all the water out. Ideally, when you're setting your lines, you do have a gravity where it's a constant slope. You don't want to have a big dip in your line anywhere that's buried under the mulch or under the soil, because that's where water's going to settle and you're definitely going to crack.
I'm just going to touch a little bit on why you don't want to drain drain your water. All season long, you've been cultivating this really healthy bacteria, and that's what you've been using to fight against algae and to try and balance your pond and keep your pond clean. So the last thing you want to do is drain all that water out, and then you're throwing all of that really good bacteria away. So just take it down minimally to where you absolutely have to do it, and save that water for next spring. You'll be glad you did. The next thing we're going to talk about are fish. If you have fish in your pond, and we're going to go over whether you're keeping them in the pond or you're going to take them out. So let's start with that you're taking them out. So one thing you want to remember is one of the most important pieces of equipment in your pond is the thermometer. The thermometer will tell you when to do this or not do this. Magic temperature on this is 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and everything is done either above that temperature or below it. Now we're going to be going below it. It has to be consistently below 10 degrees. We're talking that it's consistently for a week or more. So you want to take that temperature early in the morning, you want that cool of the night still in the water, and just record it. So if your temperature is dropping below 10 degrees Celsius, you want to stop feeding your fish. Even though you're not ready to take them out yet, you just want to stop feeding them. They cannot digest proteins when the water temperature is too cool. They'll survive because they're going to eat all that gunk that you left behind in the pond.
Resist the temptation to feed them if it's below 10. They'll still beg for food. They'll still come to the surface and want it, but you know you're smarter than them. You know it's not good for them. So that's the first thing. Have a thermometer in there. Temperature drops below 10, stop feeding. The next thing you're going to do is start taking the fish out of the pond. Prepare your area first. You want to get as much water out of the pond as you possibly can into your stock tank, into your aquarium. You can set that up in the basement, the garage, whatever setup works best for you. I mean, that's for you to determine with your space. First things first is get as much of that water from the pond into that tank so that they're used to that water.
And don't think you're wasting that water, because in the spring that water is going right back into the pond again. But it's really good. And it's not clean water. It's not going to be crystal clear, but fish don't like crystal clear. So it's going to look just like pond water in there, and that's perfectly okay. So what you want to do then is have some buckets ready with some pond water in it, so that when you do catch the fish, you're ready to dump them in there. So Aaron's going to show you the best way to catch fish.
Colette is setting me up for failure. It's impossible to catch fish. My biggest tip for this, and we catch fish 2 times a year. We catch them out of here. We build an indoor display garden that we always have fish in. We catch them out of there. My biggest tip is have multiple people if you can, multiple nets. That helps a lot. Last year I put rubber boots on up to here and I was stepping in the pond. That helped a lot too. The real biggest tip though is drain some of that water. Put some of the water inside. Put it in buckets. Water a little bit of your garden if you need to. Don't drain it all, but drain some of that water makes it a lot easier to catch the fish. They are smart, and they'll outmaneuver you every chance you get.
And when you think you've got them all, trust me, you don't. They're hiding behind rocks, so you want to check in all those little crevices as well. So here goes Aaron. Let's see how good he does this.
We're going to do a little demo here. Even with a black net, going very slow, just creeping along. They're very hard to catch.
If you have lights in your pond too, you turn your lights on. You might be able to see them a little bit better. But they are very hard to catch, and you would think the big ones would be the easiest, but they're not.
You think you have them pinned. You think you have them pinned in a corner. They get under rocks, whatever. It's very hard to do. So that's where draining the water helps. Having 2 people help.
Come on, Aaron, get one for us.
See, no fish.
Oh, you got one there. Nope.
No. So, we don't want this video to be 3 hours long of Aaron struggling to catch fish. So, yeah, just take my word, you do have to catch the fish. So, another tip, though, once you do catch all the fish, or you think you have all the fish, check back every day, because there's always ones that are hiding in little cracks and crevices. So, don't completely abandon your pond. Even if you think you have them all, check back throughout the week and get the rest of them to get them indoors, right?
And so, if you were watching Aaron not catching fish and you've decided, no way, I'm not going through that, the fish are staying in, let's talk about how we winterize the pond with keeping the fish in. You want to make sure you have a section in your pond that is at least 4 feet deep. The whole pond doesn't have to be, but a 3x3 section 4 feet deep is ideal. Your fish will migrate down there, not a problem. So first thing you're going to do is make sure that you always have an air hole open once it starts to freeze up. So you can do that with a de-icer. Now, a de-icer is just that it keeps the ice away from a certain area. They're thermostatically controlled, so they only come on when they need to be on, so you're not going to be running your power bill up all winter long. It's not a stock heater. It's not keeping the whole pond warm.
And yeah, I just want to mention, people think they have to keep open water throughout the whole pond. They think the whole pond has to stay open. That's not the case. The fish don't care if they're under a layer of ice. What they do care about is the fact that there is a hole in there, and that hole is very important for a few reasons.
Yeah, the reason you want a hole is it lets the gases escape. If you didn't have that hole, by springtime, your fish would probably all be deceased from ammonia suffocation. You want to keep that hole open. The de-icer is the way to go. You can let it float around. Some people like that. It won't hurt the liner. It's not going to burn your liner or anything like that. They're designed so it won't do that. At least these ones are. There are metal ones out there. I'd be a little more concerned about it burning the liner, but these ones won't. Or you can anchor it with a piece of fishing line and a big rock, and then it will stay where it is. The benefit of having it anchored is that when you're going to put an aerator in there as well, because you want to move some of that water. So you're going to put an aerator about a foot below the de-icer so that it can move the water and keep the water bubbling. Moving water won't freeze as fast as still water.
Pro tip I'll give is you don't want the aerator disc right at the bottom of the pond. Some people will use an aerator, some people will use a shallow water pond, and they'll put it right at the bottom pointing up at the de-icer. You don't want that. What that does is, in summertime, the warm water is on top of the pond. Below is cool. In winter, the reverse happens. So the warmest water is at the bottom of the pond, and near the top is where all the cold water is, where the freezing ice is. So if you put your pump or your aerator right at the bottom of the pond, you're going to start circulating that water. You're going to take all your warm water and make it cold water, which we don't want. We want to keep that warm water at the bottom. That's why you're only putting your aerator or your shallow water pump about a foot down. Let's say you're doing everything right. You have your de-icer, you have your aerator, your shallow water pump. We get minus 35, the power gets cut off, somebody unplugs it, and it ices over. There are certain steps you can do, and Colette's the expert on that.
Yeah, so if your de-icer fails you for whatever reason and it does ice over, it's very simple. What you don't want to do is take a hammer and start hammering the hole open. You'd really be traumatic for your fish, and it'll stress them right out. So what you want to do is just boil a big pot of water, set that pot of water right where your de-icer is, and it will just melt a hole in there. Don't pour the water in, just put the hot pot on there, and that's it. The hole will open up again, and you're good to go again. So just keep an eye on it. It's something that you should be checking all the time anyways. And the other thing you want to make sure, though, too, is that through the winter, sometimes we get these high winds and water gets moving or whatever. It could come up through that de-icer, and you don't want the water to get dammed. So just make sure that the water's not coming up and over, because you could end up with an empty pond in the spring and you don't even know it. Treating your water, and this will be the final treatment of the season. So you're going to want to put bacteria in there. We have two types of bacteria here. So we have this one here. This is the cold water bacteria, and it's good for cooler temperatures. Most other bacterias are only good for above 10 degrees. You can use this one in colder water. Now I want to show you another one that we have, and it's the pond shock. And I want to talk about the difference between the two. The pond shock is live bacteria, which means that as soon as you toss that in, it's good to go, it's working for you. All other bacteria are seeded. Seeded bacteria takes about 10 days to activate, so it's not in there right away. Use it the last bacteria treatment of the season and the first one in the spring, because it gets everything going really, really fast. And then you can follow up with these ones, because once you get a routine of using this every 2 weeks, it's always going to be working for you. Okay, so in this little plastic container is a jelly ball, which is the bacteria, and then just some clear liquid, which helps keeps it from drying out. You can toss the whole container in there. When you're tossing it in there, you want to make sure you're putting it where there's most water movement. Now our pond is pretty stagnant right now, but if you have your waterfall or your pump or whatever going on, put it in there, so the more you have it water moving, the quicker it's going to go. Aaron, throw that jelly in there too. It's really good for them. There we go, and that's all you need to do. So that one will keep everything going until the spring, and then you'll use one again first thing in the spring.
So we've done a lot of things to get our pond prepared for winter. One of the last steps that you need to do is to actually net your pond. You want to keep as much leaf and debris matter out of the pond as possible. Hopefully you can do this just before all the leaves are falling, especially if you have big elm trees, ash trees in the neighborhood. This really helps at keeping down the amount of waste that gets into the water. The less waste you have in the water, the less work you have in spring, and the healthier and happier fish you're gonna have. It comes in many different sizes. They usually come with stakes. If they don't have stakes with them, you can just use some anchor pins. Heavy rock, you can take a rock from your pond and anchor the corners. And you wanna put this on whenever the leaves are falling, even if you have fish in there. We have fish in our pond now. Once the leaves really start to come down, we'll put a net on there just to keep most of the debris off.
You're not going to leave that net on all winter, so as soon as all the leaves have fallen, you just gently take the net off, roll it up, and then dispose of the leaves. And that way, and then you're done. And then you don't need to have it on there over the winter.
One of the last things you need to do if you are getting your pond ready for winter is plant care. You may have grown some beautiful plants in there. You may have had some oxygenators, some floaters, water lilies, marginal plants. There's so many options. How do you care for those over winter? How do you keep them alive? Which ones should you keep alive?
Hi, okay, so let's figure out what we're going to do with all of our beautiful plants. Some of them we can save, some of them we can enjoy and destroy, so they're going in the bin, and others you might be able to bring into the house. Okay, so here we're talking about getting plants ready for the winter from the water garden. This here is an equisetum. It's a zone 2 very hardy plant. It would be one that you could save from year to year. All you're going to do is cut it back to about here. I'm not going to right now because it's still got some life and it's not quite ready to go back. Cut it back to about here. Dig it into an existing garden, a vegetable garden, or right beside the pond if you can. Mulch it well with the leaves. Bring it out in the spring. It'll be good to go. This is a Sarracenia kochiana. It is it's a zone 5, so you can try and protect it. Dig it, really mulch it well. I'll be cutting this back, and I'll probably just keep it in my garage. Not quite in the full elements, but it'll be kept in the garage quite cool. We'll see if it'll come back for next year. This here is a Prince Tut cypress. This one here, I'm not going to do anything to it, but I'm going to, if Aaron will hold that a minute, I'm going to give it a really good root cleaning here. Okay, because the roots got a little carried away. And then I'm going to bring it in the house when it's time and keep it as a house plant. Sometime in February, I'm going to cut it right back down to about here so I can encourage a flush of new growth, and it'll be ready to go out by the time the weather's ready. So that's how you would keep these tropical ones. This one here, this is a mare's tail. This is an oxygenator. The nice thing about this one here is you don't even have to leave it in the pot when you first get it. If you'll notice, the root systems are very shallow, so you can take little clumps like this and you can plant that on the edge of your pond where you have rocks, and it will come back. Don't do anything, just leave it. They'll come back every spring. These are a really nice plant to have that, and they do really well. Or you can leave them in the pot and just keep them in your pond. And the last one I'm going to show, the next one I'm going to show you here is this is a water lily. So on this water lily, you're going to do a little bit of root pruning here so we can get it out of the, I just want to show you what we're going to do here. You can leave it in here, that's fine. You want to cut it back on these corms. This one we're going to cut back right now, so we're going to leave it about like this. Okay, this is your corm right here. You want to cut it about 1 inch or 2 above that corm. And then you're going to take this and you're going to put it in a black garbage bag. Black garbage bag, please. We'll put it wants total darkness. Well, no, it's close enough. It wants total darkness. Put it someplace nice and cool. If you have a cold cellar, that's the best place to have it. You want to keep it between 5 and 10 degrees Celsius over the winter if you can. Do check on it, give it a little bit of water if it needs it. But other than that, you can go in a black tote, anything like that. It just does not want to have any light on it for the whole winter. So that's all you're going to do with that guy. Now the last one I'm going to show you is here at Greenland. We do sell these multi-planted baskets. This was an 8-inch one. As you can see, it's doing very well still. These are all tropical plants in here. So I'm going to choose to keep all of them, and I'm going to take this apart. I'm not going to do it right now because it's really, really root bound here. But again, you can just trim those roots off, clean it all up, take it out, you can separate them. We have some beautiful cannas that still wants to bloom. This Houtonia here is just a lovely plant. And then we have a little bit of forget-me-not down here. So those 4 plants, and then this is a
Arrowhead.
arrowhead. Thank you, Aaron. That's an arrowhead. Arrowhead's quite hardy, so that one would winter over. You could put it in a pot if you want and save it over the winter. It's pretty good. Houtonia, again, just like the Sarracina Koshana here that we had, or this one here, it's a zone 5. You can try and overwinter that outside. Just give it lots of love and a whole bunch of mulch. But that's all you have to do when you're taking your plants out. If you have any floaters, get rid of them, throw them out, enjoy and destroy. That's what they are.
My biggest tip would be think of these pond plants like you would your dahlias, your cannas, these kind of things. You're storing them over winter, and then in March, April, you're starting them indoors. You're giving them that kickstart so that you have a nice, big, beautiful plant to put out into the pond. So if you think of it like a tender bulb, I think that's the best way to do it. Store it like a tender bulb. Start it early in the house like a tender bulb. The only difference is it's a water plant. So a lot of them don't need to be fully submerged when they grow. The lily, you may want to try to give it as much water as possible when you're first starting it in the house. Another tip that I'll give you about the water lily is when you are putting it in the pond, even though that water lily can live in 2 feet deep of water, don't just chuck it down to 2 feet deep of water. Start it right on the edge of the pond, maybe 6 inches of water. Let those leaves grow to the surface. Then every week, drop it a little lower. So go 6 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches, eventually put it to that 2 feet. If I take a water lily from the house and I put it to 2 feet deep, the water is colder down there, not as much sunlight gets down there. It's going to take forever to bring those leaves and beautiful flowers to the surface. If you can step it down, way more success.
Okay, so that pretty much covers all the steps for winterizing your pond. Following these steps will ensure that in the spring you will have a lot less maintenance to do. So follow these steps and then sit back, relax, dream about how you're going to make your pond bigger maybe next year, what you're going to incorporate, what worked for you, what didn't work for you this year. If you had problems with algae and that, just make notes about that, and then we'll try and do it different in the spring. But for now, just enjoy the fact that in the springtime, all you're going to do is add some more water to your pond, some more bacteria, put your fish back in there if that's the case, and you're going to be golden, good to go.
Thanks everybody for joining Aaron and Colette today on this video. If we missed something, if you have questions, didn't cover something, leave us a comment below. We'd love to see it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again soon.